PowerPoint, we are going to look at interdisciplinary team organization, which is the topic of Chapter 6. And really, interdisciplinary team organization has been the most significant contribution of the middle school concept to the processing of schooling. So that's what we will discuss in this PowerPoint. Four phases or areas of interdisciplinary team life. And teamwork is essential to all of them. They include organization, community building, instruction, and governance. And we will unpack and elaborate on each of these in the preceding slides. Why do these four phases of interdisciplinary team life matter? Well, they matter when interdisciplinary learning is happening. When you have teachers that share the same students, the same space, and the same schedule, and each member of the team is teaching at least two subjects. When those aspects are present, then you're going to want to integrate these four phases because it'll be at the betterment of the entire team and at the betterment of student learning. So with respect to organization, what this entails is the adoption of common roles and expectations by all the teachers in the team in order to promote some uniformity with what's going on. And that uniformity will include expectations for procedures such as heading papers, for behavior and homework. And that just helps to promote better behavior overall because there's no ambiguity there with respect to what teachers expect and what students should therefore do. And in order to have this type of organization, teachers have to meet and establish what those rules will be, what the consequences will be for breaking those rules, and what the rewards will be for adhering to them. They also will want to come up with some uniform procedures for making phone calls, scheduling parent conferences, and any other important aspects. As teachers and administrators make decisions to foster teaming among faculty and among students, it's important that students feel a sense of community within their school. Young adolescents need, sometimes desperately, to belong to groups they admire. And it falls on the shoulders of middle school faculty to create a place of warmth, a place of trust, a place that their students admire and want to belong in through fostering a sense of community. So how can this be done? Well, there's a lot of different ways. Creating logos, names, and group identity are some different ways that teachers can foster a sense of belonging to a school team. You could have contests or write songs and have other spirit activities to facilitate a sense of school pride, team spirit, and again, that overall riding sense of community. When teamwork has been successful in the first two phases and teams are well organized and have a sense of unity, they're able to move to a new phase, a phase that some teachers think of first, teamed instruction. This is otherwise known as team teaching, and it's only one aspect of teamwork in middle grades instruction. It's an important part, but it is definitely not the only part of interdisciplinary team organization. Teamed instruction requires a great deal of teamwork in addition to the completion of the first two phases. Teamed instruction requires first and foremost a predisposition toward working together instructionally on the part of the teachers who are on the team. They must want to plan and they must want to teach together. And a great deal of planning is indeed required, and that takes time, which is a precious commodity for most teams. When teamwork is moving smoothly, three exciting possibilities emerge. Foremost, teams plan so that tests and major assignments are not due on the same days, and so that field trips are scheduled when they are most appropriate. Teachers make a serious effort to go further in their coordination of the curriculum, manipulating their individual plans so that matching topics are taught at the same time. And when coordination and parallel planning go well, and when teachers have the time and energy, team instruction may enter an entirely new phase. Authentic interdisciplinary units may emerge when compatible people find the time available. And those different interdisciplinary units that they're talking about are those which you plan through your curriculum maps. So when strong team instruction is in place as a result of those first two phases already being well solidified, that's when you can create those authentic interdisciplinary units that, interestingly enough, help to build the very community that precedes teamed instruction. And it really makes learning so fun, relevant, and meaningful for students. The evidence indicates that an additional and final phase of teamwork contributes greatly to the success of middle school education programs. And this is governance or shared decision making. Shared decision making in the team and across the school is both the process and the product of fully functioning interdisciplinary team organizations. Teamwork in such situations usually involves some form of representative government system. Often each team has a team leader who will represent the other team members at weekly or biweekly meetings of a school-wide group. And this group engages in teamwork for the whole school. It establishes policies, makes decisions, and shares problems that affect more than one team. They may also wrestle with important issues such as the master schedule, the budget, and promotion and retention. Or they might deal with other more mundane topics like school holidays and just other issues that are common to the school. Research indicates that these 4 phases are really at the heart of successful teaming within schools: organization, community building, teamed instruction, and governance are essential to having an effective, positive, fully functioning middle school. On page 312 to 313 of our text, the authors detail 7 characteristics of highly effective teams. Number 1, they say that the team has an elementary flavor, meaning that they're student-centered and they don't necessarily have primary training in secondary content, which is quite interesting. And I think it's some of the attributes that elementary teachers bring with them. They're relational. They care a lot about each individual student. And those elements still matter very much in middle school because you're starting to bridge that gap to independence. So that is one key characteristic of highly effective teams. The second is that, as I mentioned, this is incorporated from one, is that these teams are student-centered, but they're also committed to academic outcomes. Remember that the middle school concept originated because of this movement back to the basics, back to standards-oriented education, where the rigor of the academics needed to increase. And so that's another characteristics of highly effective teams, that they are focused on meeting standards and raising the bar for students academically. Number 3, they have collaborative policies for behavioral expectations and systems of operation. And remember, this requires a lot of planning time in order to come up with the protocol for behavioral expectations and just for policies for overall systems of operation. All the faculty and staff work hard to build community. And we've talked about this. They want to nurture that sense of community among the faculty, among the staff, and it goes beyond just having symbols like team logos and such, but they do a lot together where they're engaged in activities, either just fun activities, field days, and other projects or plays, but also maybe different advisory group activities too, where they're serving the community so that they're creating their own identity as they're building this sense of community. They have strong communication with parents, and this communication, this ties into number 6, is proactive. So they really work hard to make sure that there's transparency with parents regarding what's going on at school, but also to continue to keep parents involved in their kids' education and what's going on in the school. And to do that, again, they don't question whether they should reach out to parents. They just do. And they do it through memos, through letters, through various forms of communication. And lastly, but certainly not of least importance, is that the faculty work to build unity among themselves. So there's a lot of fellowship that might occur between them, and they do all they can through various gestures to build one another up. Goes through so many essential portions for team planning, team instruction. It gives great examples of effective teaming at various schools. And I know you'll gain a lot through reading that. But the chapter then culminates with what are called the 10 commandments of teaming. And I think that these are so foundational and critical to successful teaming that I wanted to wrap up our discussion here with those. So these 10 commandments. Number one, compatibility is key to communication and fostering support. And that compatibility is nurtured through having strong leadership and having faculty who are willing to work together with one another. Number two, balance. You have to balance personality, strengths, and weaknesses in students and teachers on the team. And that comes through good leadership, knowing how to achieve that balance among the teams that they create within the school. Common planning. We've talked about this quite a bit already, but it's as important as individual planning within the school day. So there needs to be a common planning time for teams and then individual planning for what individual teachers are responsible for within that team. Leadership and administrative support is crucial for maintaining long-term teaming. So you have to have an administrator who's not just enthusiastic about teaming and who gets to know faculty well so that they can achieve balance, but they have to be well trained in it. That is critical. Respect and the common good must be important to all of the team members. And really that means that every person on the team needs to be optimistic, kind, and give each other the benefit of the doubt. That's just really a healthy perspective to have when you're trying to work in a unified fashion. And to really do that, they have to engage in respect and fellowship among the teachers. And leadership, again, needs to help make opportunities throughout the school year for teachers to engage and have fellowship with one another. I skipped one of our 10 commandments because I felt like two of those went together quite well. But you have to have respect for the students. The attitudes that teachers have toward the students are very powerful and can positively affect teamwork when a pro student attitude is in place. And again, I think good leadership will help to affect that, but that comes from within teachers too, to see their students are capable, that their students can achieve, and to set high expectations for them. While it's important that you have that common planning time, I'd also mention that individual planning time is important, and that ties into the next commandment that classroom teachers need to maintain some degree of autonomy and academic freedom because, again, at the middle school level, you have some training and content, and there's a desire to use your gifts and skills and to continue to hone those. So this ties back into balance too, where there's this balance between common planning and also through having some autonomy to live your avocation as a teacher. I've said it over and over, but the administrators have to be supportive. They have to be extremely knowledgeable and trained, and they need to be very visible because they are going to be the ones that are empowering these teams and are going to be advocating for shared leadership among each of the team members. And as I've mentioned throughout to the whole school community, faculty and administrators alike have to be vested in professional development for best practices for teaming and how to plan most effectively. These best practices are continually emerging in the field with research that's being done. And administrators need to keep supplying that research and best practices to their faculty so that they can continue to improve their own methods.